I'm Dr. Mike DiTolla, the Director of Clinical Affairs for Sirona Dental. I'd like to welcome you to our Sirona Media panel, coming to you live from the 2016 Chicago Midwinter Meeting. To my immediate left, hailing from Bee Cave, Texas.
I'm from Austin, Texas.
Which is a suburb of Austin, Texas,
right.
is Dr. Todd Ehrlich. To his left, hailing from parts unknown, Ingo Zimmer, not a dentist, but willing to try it if you're willing to give him a chance. And to his left, from Edina, Minnesota, Dr. Mike Skramstad. And Mike and Todd both hold the distinction of being beta testers for this product. You guys were using it when it was still a total secret, when you knew your families would disappear if you said anything about it to anybody else. And you're actually two of the guys who I thought would not become big fans of this material just because you're so in love with aesthetic dentistry. I didn't think you'd be willing to trade some aesthetics for high strength, but Todd, have you?
Well, the very first time I saw this in action, and not just the demonstrations that I got from Sirona, but for actual clinical use, and my patients got to watch the milling, they were blown away. And I don't know, we've seen this in traditional CEREC dentistry, but this was a game changer when it came to their experience. But what I loved about it the best is that I really tested more knife edge margins, being more conservative, and I saved a whole bunch of time on the back end because we can just traditionally cement. And you know, when it comes to my practice, I'm very willing to be open-minded, try new things, and I can't imagine any general dentist that does any zirconia not having this in their office because they can get it done in one visit.
Right. And Ingo, you must be happy that. Can you imagine if this material hadn't been out, you know, in dental laboratories for the last 6 years, and we were just introducing it for the first time today and trying to tell people about it? It would be pretty much of an uphill battle. Don't you feel a lot more comfortable with the fact that this is a well-established material? Look at those margins, it's amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, well-established, and we know that, you know, a vast majority of dentists in the United States place zirconia restorations today through their lab.
Right.
And provide that now in a single visit is a huge step forward for us. So we believe that this will be very attractive to many dentists in this country, provide a very strong and very beautiful restoration in a single visit. So I think this is a very good opportunity for all of us.
That's right.
Michael, your initial
well, I mean, I was a little bit skeptical, you know, and I think really three things changed my mind over the course of doing things, you know, because obviously I was concerned about the aesthetics of the zirconia. But once I saw that I could do it in the same amount of time, the fits were super precise. I had more clinical flexibility in my preparation where I could still prep the same as I always did for glass ceramics, or I could choose to do a much more conservative prep like Todd said. I like that. And then, of course, the cementability. So when you add all those three up together, yeah, maybe it doesn't look quite as good as some other glass ceramics, but in the posterior, all those benefits outweigh the aesthetics of something else. So that kind of slowly converted me over, and then now, you know, roughly 90% zirconia on the molars.
And I think you can put a yet on the end of that sentence.
Right.
When you say it's not as aesthetic as other glass ceramics.
Yet,
because in the lab industry where they are able to get more translucent zirconias, but albeit still with an 8-hour center time, when Sirona figures out the formula for getting increased translucence in the very short speed-fire center time, that's a total game changer as well.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about the centering of it, about the Speedfire oven, and what your impressions have been.
I'll give you a perfect example. I made a bridge for my sister a couple of weeks ago because, you know, we experiment on all our family and in-laws first.
Not going to do that to a paying patient. Exactly.
No, of course not. Anyway, my sister had a big issue, and we remade a bridge for her, and the Speedfire oven centered it in 24 minutes. So the amount of milling time was probably about 17 and then 24 minutes centering time. So what is that, like about 30, 40 minutes?
Right.
I mean, we have something that we can traditionally cement right then and there that's zirconia, and she's not going to break that thing ever.
Right.
So I'm not going to be at the Christmas party with my family, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, can you look at this thing one more time? But we're not going to have that.
You couldn't cast gold that quickly.
No, you couldn't.
I mean, that's the thing that's amazing
wax.
about. There's really nothing you
that
could
fast. Yeah.
It does in terms of speed. It just outdistances everything else. And considering that we have this 22% shrinkage, is anybody else blown away by the fact that we have something shrinking that much? But all of you beta testers are telling me it fits better than the stuff we've done traditionally as well.
You're like, you can't believe it would actually fit.
It's an amazing magic trick, right?
Going back to that oven, I think that the thing that impressed me the most, and the thing I think that is the best thing about the oven, is the integration with the software, the milling unit. It's in there as a device. I mean, not that it's very difficult to remember a couple different cycles, but it's just one, as educators for Todd and I, it's one other thing that we have to worry about, like which cycle do I run this on, which cycle do I run this on, and the fact that you mill a restoration and it says transferred successfully to the, or information's transferred successfully to the furnace.
Right.
You go to the furnace, it's right there, you just hit a button, hit start, you don't have to worry about things like that anymore. So I think that making it simple is a huge advance in the field of
So that's
furnaces.
a question that's come up on the Sarek Docs website before. What cycle should I use for
Oh,
this?
never.
But it's really a step towards the ultimate thing of a dentist. Again, preparing a tooth, scanning it, touching a button, and then all of a sudden that
thing,
shoots
it
out.
just shoots right out.
5 minutes later, because the dentist would go, "Whoa, look at that."
Well, I
That's
think
what-
the big question is, when is Sirona going to make it so I don't have to prep teeth
Yeah,
anymore?
that's amazing.
When is that going to come
Working
out?
on it,
Well.
But I do remember when we showed the process to Scrammy for the first time, and we said, we'll sinter this crown in probably 10 to 15 minutes, and he was just laughing. He said, "No way, there's no way you can do that." And then we're working with him, and he was blown away by the process.
Besides the German laptop I had that I couldn't translate, just hit that button right there. I'm like, okay.
I think for all the Sarek owners that are out there watching something like this, and they're looking at it going, "No, I'm comfortable with what I'm using already." They're going to be fascinated by what the anatomy can be milled with the small carbide burr in a larger size with a softer material. The detail that comes out of this thing is just absolutely amazing. It's probably the best we've ever seen in the history of Sarek.
Right.
And so what you said earlier about keeping everything as simple as possible, now there's less hand adjustment milling so we can get the aesthetic fissures and all that down, because now there's nothing to do.
Right. Well, I remember Mike and I were at a meeting, and I said something about, well, how many uses should you be able to get out of the burrs? I asked this one of the Sirona people, and he said, 40-ish or something like that. And I see Mike Skramstad looks over at me and goes, "I just realized I haven't changed mine
In like 6 months.
since I've started doing this."
I haven't changed mine either. I mean, both of the burrs that I'm using.
I forgot about that. I'm like, Sirona sent me all these burrs that I have never
and
actually
I don't
opened.
even need them.
Yeah.
It now comes with only one of each.
Yeah, lifetime
they last
warranty.
a
Lifetime
lifetime.
warranty. on
There's
burrs.
well, I mean, that's a question that we all need to answer. I mean, how long do you think these burrs can actually last?
So, I mean, typically we find out that the cycles are like anywhere between 30 and 40 mils, and then people change it, but they last very, very long. I mean, we're very pleased with that. But it's, to that point from you, Scram, it's the integration in the workflow. I think that is very important, that, you scan, you design, and then you mill, and the software has already the appropriate sintering cycle. It's really a full integrated solution that makes the workflow very efficient, very fast in that single visit.
But it is amazing that we've never milled anything this soft.
Yeah.
That after it goes through this 13-minute sinter cycle, becomes the hardest thing
hardest
that we've
thing.
ever produced
Exactly.
with this system. And it's part of the miracle of this material, kind of like the transformational toughening. It's in a certain...
The transformational what?
You knew I was going to work that in.
Well, waiting
Just
for
because
that.
Dennis Fassbinder is the only one who wants to talk to me about this.
We're making this video for him, I think.
The amazing thing about this is when it gets stressed, so when a patient bites down, and if a crack were to start, it undergoes this phase change.
That's right.
And the crystals around it actually increase in volume 5%, and it clamps down.
Yeah.
It sounds like a cartoon story about a superhero.
Yeah.
That you would when you injure him, he gets 5% stronger. And they grow. But it's really the truth about what happens, and it's part of the reason the material is so durable. I think it's going to be one of those times that the material itself really gets dentists more interested in the technology than the other way around.
One thing that I was kind of concerned about when we first got it, because I expected to adjust a lot. I mean, I just expected look how big this thing is, and it's going to center, I'm going to have to adjust contacts. And I think with what you said, the whole digital workflow of the imaging, the design, the mill, and then the way your engineers have calculated all this out, I think Scrammy would agree. We've adjusted very little. We did that bridge I put in for my sister. There was no adjustment whatsoever.
At first, it's almost like a leap of faith, because with other glass ceramics, we're used to milling it, removing the screw, then trying it in. And now, when I couldn't do it, my assistants are like, "What do you mean? We're not going to try it in?
Right.
Like, we can't try it in. It's too big."
Yeah.
But then, so it's almost a leap of faith. And then you realize you don't know in the first one, is it going to go in? And you're like, okay, it went in.
Dropping in.
It just dropped in, and
then you start dropping them in from like 2 inches above. And it just falls right into place. There's a slide in your presentation of your dental assistant, Jamie.
Yes.
And what does that quote say?
Why can't I can't remember the exact quote, but it's, why can't we do zirconia on every restoration?
Right.
And I think from her perspective is just the fact that, I mean, as stressful as bonding is on me, I think it's also stressful on your assistants. You know, it's more things to get out. You have to get isolation. They have to help you with that isolation.
Yeah.
When they see the isolation being lost, we're telling them like cure, and we're stressing them out. So I think that she just noticed that this is really easy. She just wants to cement everything all the time. Yeah. I have to explain to her that we can't do zirconia on every single tooth that we do, but if it was her wish that we could.
Yeah.
Todd, I'm guessing it had been a long time since you had prepped the feather edge margin.
Oh my goodness.
I bet you have to force yourself to do it still.
I had to go to like our trade journals and learn from the best.
Very good.
You know.
Oh, thank you, because I forgot to work it into one of these, so thank you for picking that up.
You know, that's right. I had to go back and kind of think what a feather edge margin was, and as I was prepping it for that first time, I was thinking, how many thousands of dentists actually prep exactly like that and want something like this already? And this is absolutely amazing.
Well, the issue is not that dentists necessarily prep a whole prep with a feather edge. My experience in the lab showed they would do a deep chamfer on the buccal, it would turn to a regular chamfer on the mesial and distal, and then turn to a feather edge on the lingual, which for a lithium disilicate is a no-go. And that's one of the great things about this, and Mike's pointed this out before, is that your preps don't have to be great to use this material.
No, I think that's very true. You know, that, like I said, clinical flexibility. So some days we have better days than others, and some days our preps are not as good as others, and this always works.
And as beta testers, we're constantly working on parameters and trying to dial things in. And this is really the first time in my CEREC career that I've been able to dial spacer in, and I'm wanting less spacer. So when it's milled like this in a larger state with the carbide burrs, I think we're getting, I don't know, you'd have to comment on that. But
I think we're getting close to just getting rid of the parameters. What are you saying, Ingo?
I think we could
no parameters.
That would be ideal. We're working on that for sure. That would be
no
great.
more parameters.
No, but then we lose things to teach.
But actually, sometimes we give them parameters they can change, but they actually have no effect on the milling result. You know, it's just so they keep you guys a little busy.
We learned about that. Ingo, it's always a interesting discussion and at times a struggle trying to figure out a way to bring new dentists into the CEREC community. You know, because the brand awareness is pretty high. When you look at surveys of how many dentists have heard about CEREC and knows what it does this strike you as a big opportunity to be able to bring in, say, the average dentist who didn't want to have to stain and glaze and do all that kind of stuff?
No, that's an excellent question, and I would absolutely agree with that. Certainly, the awareness of CEREC is very high in the dental field. People know about CEREC, they know about the benefits of single-visit dentistry, but now having the opportunity to place zirconia restorations in that single visit, cementing, keeping the margins like you would do like for a PFM, those are now opportunities that dentists who have not invested in the technology yet could really look forward to. You know, this is like something like, okay, zirconia now meets CEREC. You know, so those both worlds now collide and bring in a huge advantage and possibility for me. So I think it's pretty significant, and I think a lot of people will look into this and will be very excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. More people are going to get involved in CEREC chairside just because of this one material and this one process. It's growing even every single day, and it's going to be amazing to see your company's growth just on this one process.
Right, and Mike, I know you told me that I don't think you've done anything but a solid CEREC zirconia crown on a molar in the last couple months.
Yeah, second molars for sure. There's been a couple first molars thrown in there here and there that I've done in EMAX.
Sure.
Based on just preparation design or things like that, but for the most part, it's mostly zirconia.
You know what's exciting about all this, just as clinicians, we love it when we see companies like come out with new technologies and everything, because we eventually benefit, because all the other companies are going to be out there working on their stuff, and the patient's going to eventually benefit with higher strength, better cosmetics, and an easier appointment.
Right. I would argue, vehemently that giving the patient a restoration, even if it's not as aesthetic, considering it's on a posterior tooth, that's higher strength, so less chance of a fracture. We have to reduce less tooth structure, which could lead to postoperative sensitivity. I truly, in my heart, believe it's the right thing to do for people. And you know what? Nobody complained about the aesthetics, like my dad when he was putting cast gold restorations in people's mouths. Nobody was going, one of the compromises is not that aesthetic. It's like, who cares? It's the best material we've ever had in dentistry. And I feel that same way about this.
Amen.
At least it's tooth colored. it's as close to a cast gold and a shade A2 that we've been
This
able to
crown
get.
right here will never have a silver dot on the occlusal surface, and it will never have like a little metal band wrapped around it
Exactly.
going, hey, can you fix
Exactly.
this thing?
And it'll
Yeah.
never have a pile of white powder in the buccal vestibule with just a metal coping sitting on the tooth because they hit a chicken bone in their McNuggets or something along those lines. So, yeah, I think the excitement that we have here, I'm surprised that you guys as longtime users with weaker glass ceramic materials have been excited. And I hope that we're all correct, that dentists who heretofore have not got involved with this technology will be excited enough by the prospect of being able to do the world's currently strongest available crowns, with the exception of cast gold.
Yeah.
But the strongest available crowns can now be done chairside in the same amount of time as a regular glass ceramic crown. And that's an important story, and I'm glad you guys are all here to help test it. And I'm putting you on the beta test list for our intraoral mill.
Oh, hey, I'd be glad to do it.
That's the
Wait,
If I can go drink coffee somewhere.
that's the one. Yeah, you just attach it to the patient's face
exactly.
and it mills.
No, they
the
stick the
tooth.
patient's face right in the milling
Or
chamber.
you can do that. That's an option
That's
as well.
option. Yeah, that's milling option
Hey,
B, yeah.
don't be an alpha tester.
no, I'm
You're
sorry,
just a
sorry,
beta
sorry,
tester. You let us.
I've got plenty of family members we can try it out
That's
on.
right, and Mike has plenty of staff members we can experiment on as well. All right, well, thank you so much, Todd, Ingo, and Mike. Thank you for your time watching our panel, and we want to tell you how much we appreciate your time, and thank you for your commitment to quality dentistry.